Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Dentist in the Know, your Humpday Happy Hour. We are, as Jeff always says, your source for, like live, informational, dental, non-biased, whatever he usually says. I really wasn't prepared to open the show tonight, but you know what? I'm all you got. So anyhow, welcome to Humpday Happy Hour, now airing on YouTube because Facebook kind of kicked us off temporarily, not because of anything we did, but they just changed the way that they do things. We're live. We're over a cocktail. We're going to discuss dentistry tonight, and I am here not with Jeff because he's mid-flight on the way to New Orleans for the sleep medicine meeting, I believe. Jennifer just told me, but I've already forgotten. And I'm here with one of my very best friends, Dr. Jennifer Bell. So welcome, JB. It's good to see you.
I'm kind of debating reneging my friendship with you right now.
That was horrible, wasn't it?
Pretty terrible.
It was pretty terrible. Well, the thing is that I didn't remember that Jeff wasn't going to be on the show tonight.
Right.
And so I wasn't really prepared. And, Jeff's got all these papers lined up all the way around. And so it's like backstage pass, news, politics, trends. I mean, he's always really, really good at it. And quite honestly, I wasn't prepared for it.
No. So this is your sub-tier podcast without Jeff. We're going to attempt to be entertaining and enlightening all at the same time. And Chad, you might want to take like an upper or something. I don't know.
Is it that bad?
No.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So I'll start and I'll tell you what's been going on.
I want to hear you. We're going to hear about this puppy.
Well, it's kind of why I'm a little bit flustered because puppy is having a hard time being trained. And right before I logged in, I had this smell and puppy has found my study and puppy excrement was all over my shoes right before I started.
On your shoes?
I stepped right in it. Didn't even see it. I was like getting the whole room ready. And I was like, oh my God.
That's so disgusting.
Yeah. And the puppy is incredibly cute, but
what kind?
It's a Cavapoo.
Yeah.
So she looks like a little mini sheepadoodle.
She does. I thought maybe she might be a mini Rosie.
No, she's a Cavapoo. She's really pretty sweet. And she is exactly, for those of you that know, my daughter had been sick for quite some time and she's home now and hopefully improving. We go see the rheumatologist tomorrow, but anyhow, this puppy is hers and this puppy is exactly what she needed. And I would have gotten her whatever she wanted. And I'm just thankful that it was just a puppy. It
could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. So we're potty training and I'm not getting much sleep and that's how it goes. But how goes it with you?
I don't envy that at all. I really don't. Yeah. Okay. So can we talk about a phenomenon that happens in the dental office? Like once a quarter, you have a day where all the dentistry goes pretty well. You feel like, damn, I'm actually kind of good at this job. Like everybody got numb first attempt. All the crowns colored matched. The margins were sealed. You're like, I'm actually kind of good at this. And that's just like golf, right? Like you have one good round, you have a couple good holes, and then you're stupid enough to then book another tee time only to be totally humiliated and defeated the following day. Well, I had the good day today. And so I think tomorrow could be a total shit show. I don't know. I don't know what's waiting for me, but it could be terrible. I
totally get it. And there's another phenomenon that you have in the dental office. And this afternoon was one of those days, like there's days where we're buried in the trenches and we're like drill them and fill them and crown them and whatnot. Yeah. And then there's days where like all you are doing is talking, it's a conversational day. It's treatment planning. Yeah. It's figuring out problems. And those days, sometimes like you get in there and you've got to be in a mood for that,
Not like your opener for the show. Like you got to be on.
You got to be in a mood for that. And so this afternoon was one of those days where it was just like all talking. And it was actually a good afternoon of talking. And I didn't really think of it like my golf game, but you basically described my golf game. I played last week and it was great. There were 4 dinks that played on Sunday,
Yeah, I
which
was still
was
waiting for my invitation.
a
So I'm
lot.
going to go check
Hey,
the mailbox before
anytime.
go to
It was
bed.
a lot of fun. 3 guests, 3 people that have been guests on the show, and then another dink. We played on Saturday morning, and I played awful. But the good news is that this Friday we have an AIDA event in Wichita Falls, Texas. Which, if you have not been to Wichita Falls is a happening metropolis of happiness in North Texas. It's where it's at. But anyhow, that's where all of our good friends at Midwest Dental are from. And I'm going to be able to play golf with my good friends from Midwest Dental. And I'm hoping that I play better than I played last weekend.
I know, but
that's what I'm hoping
I
for.
bet you should. The law of averages will say this will be the round that gets you back for another 3 crappy rounds. Like
it should be. Let me tell you, it can only go up from last weekend. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it. And before we get back to you, one of the things I didn't do is I didn't introduce our guests tonight, which I'm going to formally introduce in a few minutes. But as many of you all may or may not know, we have partnered to an extent with AIDA, which is the American Independent Dental Alliance. Hopefully I said that correctly because I don't have my readers on. Yes, and I did say that correctly.
Gosh.
I always get it confused, but it's not the ADA, it's the AIDA.
That's right.
And anyhow, it's a conglomerate of 4 dental distributors. I'd venture to say from the Midwest to the Southeast United States, Atlanta, Getsy, Nashville, and Midwest Dental. It's a wonderful alliance that supports the independent dentist, and they provide a lot of valuable education. We had Aspire in February of this year in Mexico, which was absolutely fantastic. We'll have Aspire next year, I believe, hopefully in January. I know Dawn was working on the dates and location for that. And there's a bunch of educational opportunities, both live and virtual, throughout the year. And we're honored to partner with them and help them build their curriculum and hopefully build their audiences at these locales. And Amber Auger will be in Wichita Falls this Friday, and I'm super excited to be there. And anyhow, I would be amiss if I didn't just, talk about that a little bit before I got back to you.
For sure.
So what else is going on?
Well, it's recital season for, and frankly, it's just all the season, right? I saw a funny meme, that said, it's graduation, recitals, end of year banquets, sports banquets, all the things, teacher appreciation, but then we're also supposed to go about our normal daily lives as well. So all the activities are starting to come to a head here at the Bell household. So if you need me, I'll be dousing kids in sequins and glitter all weekend this weekend. And then hopefully getting them all through EOGs over the coming weeks so that we can just formally go ahead and get into summer, which they have already all decided that they're already in. Like they don't want to get up. They don't want to wake up. They don't want to go to school. They definitely don't want to do the schoolwork that is being required of them. Like they have formally checked out. So it would just be really nice if we could go ahead and sunset the calendar.
I completely get that. Our calendar is a little bit different, but as end of year graduation season, booked the dormitory today, which was a task.
Oh my gosh.
Got her final banquet tomorrow night and graduation next week. And so it's an exciting time. And, she has missed school since April the 4th or 5th, and she will not be back in school, but she is completing her assignments and she will graduate. Fingers crossed. Yes. So thankful that we have a good student. So and she said today that she is pumped for graduation. And quite honestly, if there's no administrators from Keller ISD on here, I would be happy to say that she probably could go back to school. But she's been granted the permission not to.
But that's between us and YouTube. No one will ever see that. No, it's a totally private format.
She is still immunocompromised, so it's much better that she stays home.
That's right.
Until she finishes her regimen of steroids. So
we just want her to spend all the time with you before she goes to college. Make sure we just Number one, we want to lock in all that quality time, but also reaffirm your decision to go ahead and send her off to school.
Yeah.
Let's
Hey,
reaffirm that.
hey, by the
Because
way,
I think by the end of the summer, you may be packing her boxes for her.
no, I'm going to tell you something has triggered. I think it's a combination of two things: me being at the hospital every single night and buying the puppy. And between those two
You're in the
things,
end now.
I get a call every day asking when I'm gonna be home and a "Daddy,
Hmm.
I miss you," which she's
Hmm.
18, so it feels pretty good. So those
So
I'll
your
take
tip to
that.
all dads out there is go buy
Yeah,
your kid a puppy and you might be in
yeah,
for at least 4 to 6 weeks.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
anyways, hey, they don't wanna hear us banter all night. Why don't you get to the news, and then I'll introduce our guests.
I have a ton. Are you ready?
Okay,
Buckle
I'm
up.
ready. Alright,
Okay.
I'm
There's
gonna
some crazy stuff happening out there in the dental world. I got to be honest. Like every week, I think, oh, it's going to be kind of a boring week of dental news. And then we dig in a little bit deeper and find, nope, 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 no. All right, you ready?
I'm ready. I'm gonna dive
Okay.
down. Go for it.
So I'm going to try to go low high, because I've been accused actually of only reporting terrible news stories. So we're just going to try to keep it, a nice rolling wave of positives and negatives. Um, there was, it's been at least 6 weeks since I've reported on someone doing dentistry illegally in a basement. But you know what? I couldn't hold out any longer because this one got pretty saucy. So there was a man in Michigan who was performing dentistry in his basement. And there was another gentleman who decided to pursue dental services in said man's basement because it would be cheaper for him to get the root canal and veneers that he was seeking. So he did. But then after the services were provided, he was in a lot of pain and was trying to get help. And in the end, when he came to complain, he was asked to come to the dental office in the basement around midnight on one particular evening, which I feel like would have been the first tipping point. But who am I to say? I have the hindsight to say that probably was a terrible idea. Where the dentist proceeded to shoot said man complaining of dental work, and now is being charged and likely sentenced for murder. So there's so much to unpack in that story. We've got the illegal dental office in the basement, then the murder, then the dissatisfaction of dental procedures being performed. I mean, you could take the story in a myriad of directions, but I thought it really kind of brought all the negative stories that I like to tell on this newscast all into one particular story where we get both illegal dentistry, murder, and complaint of dental services all wrapped up in one. Lovely story coming out of Michigan. So we got to thank the good folks there for providing us that. One of what I thought was one of the biggest news stories that came out of this week in the world of dentistry was that Invisalign, or Align Technology, has filed a lawsuit against an Oregon orthodontist for claiming that he was using Invisalign when he was actually using Ormco Spark clear aligners. That is what the lawsuit claims. Now, interestingly, this dentist out of Lake Oswego, Oregon, is a KOL for Ormco Spark.
That's where our
And
guest last week was from. Sorry.
what? Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So anyway, this gentleman is advertising false marketing, saying that he's using Invisalign services, but when in fact they are reporting that he is using Ormco. What I thought was pretty staggering was the amount. The company has now sued him for $28 million, I believe, from Align Technology. So what's the takeaway from this particular story? Well, the first would be that entities are getting quite serious about false advertising of use of their services, and that they may be starting to really hone in on that. And we've seen that a little bit in the clear aligner world, where we use the term Invisalign kind of like we use the term Kleenex or other common terms when you actually may just be talking about a tissue or a piece of toilet paper. And now Invisalign has become the Kleenex of the clear aligner manufacturing space. But that is not going to be tolerated for very long. So we'll see how this one sort of comes to fruition. It will be very soon that California dental practices may be required to have violence prevention plans. A law that was passed back in September of last year will go into effect in July 1. There's still some clarity that has to be wrapped around which businesses will be required to have this, but as it stands today, those practices that have more than 10 employees will have to have a violence plan in place. This plan will also need to be updated annually, and employees will participate in the development of that plan. That would be if you had a disgruntled employee association, like boyfriend, husband, etc. Sorry, I always lump the boys into that particular category. Or if you had someone coming off the street who walked into the practice who created a violent scenario. So they're asking practices that with more than 10 employees that they'll need to put that in place. So if that does apply to you out of California, you'll need to take note. I thought this was super interesting coming out of Marquette. We're seeing the first dental grads coming out with privileged diplomas. What is a privileged diploma? Well, this is a diploma that has been granted by the university that no longer requires any type of clinical or board exam to determine competency in the art and science of dentistry. So within 3 days of graduation from Marquette, these dental students will have a full licensure to be able to practice in the state of Michigan. This was obviously put into place to help address some of the access to care issues that they were having in the state, but it certainly could be something that other states may be watching to see how this performs well in the private sector. But this is our first instance of individuals that are not even required for a PGY1, which has been pushed for quite some time, a postgraduate year study in an AEGD or GPR to determine competency. They have bypassed both the PGY1 and the licensure exam and straight to licensure. So we'll see how that develops over time. I had to zone in on this particular story because it came out of my home state of North Carolina. There was a dental patient who couldn't get reimbursed for a dental implant that she had to have placed. She reported that it was because a certain medication made her more susceptible to tooth loss, and therefore she required an implant for placement. She had filed it with MetLife. MetLife had denied reimbursement for the procedure. She contacted our local news organization. You know how they do the news consumer advocacy piece of a lot of the news, and news groups now have these particular arms that are associated with their media outlets. Well, she contacted our local media outlet. They got on the case, and within 2 days, she got paid. So now immediately I'm reading the story going, can I just start filing constant complaints of non-payment services from the dental industry? And I'm just going to go straight to my local news outlet, WRAL, and say, hey, Consumer Report, I need you to go after XYZ insurance company to help get this person paid. They were paid in 2 days. Do you know how long sometimes I fight? 60, 90 days to help either myself or even just to help the patient get paid or reimbursed for the services so they're not financially liable. So to say that I'm amazed, slightly chapped, like a whole host of emotions that are going on right now. Yeah, there's a lot going on with that particular story, but certainly food for thought. And with that, that's the news.
Always so damn riveting.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
just
very
do
much.
such a
But also,
fantastic
if
job.
you could go to our good friend who came on to introduce Brett Kessler every time you don't get a dental insurance claim, and you just have him go to the consumer part of the media outlet and say, I need you to call MetLife, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Cigna, Aetna, whoever. I need this patient to get paid. How? 2 days.
And the sad part is as much as I love Doug, it really depends on the news of the day, JB.
I
Like our
know.
news may not make the news if there's
That's
a
right.
better
That's right.
murder or, hot damn, if there's a police chase, you're out.
You're out.
You're out.
Maybe
You're out.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I took 2 instead of 1.
Maybe so. Maybe so. There was something else that came out of North Carolina this week that I was going to ask you about, and it wasn't what you just spoke of, but I'll have to find it and send it to you. But it was,
Well, I'll
it was
be here.
dental. Yeah, I figured you would be. Yeah. Because you have no life
I
besides
have zero
with
life. I do
3
nothing.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow, can I introduce our guests?
I've been waiting.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, then wait no more. I'm going to bring
Fantastic.
them both to the stage and then I'm going to introduce them. And so, what I will say is, ladies first, I'm going to introduce Dawn. Um, Dawn Metcalf is not only um, a wonderful human being and a wonderful professional in dentistry. She's got over 30 years in dentistry. She's a great friend, and she's really got it out for educators in the dental field. And I really have a great fondness for her. I know Jennifer does, and Jeff does as well. But Dawn has managed a sales territory. She's owned a dental supply company. She's created education programs focused on private practice dentistry. And once again, she's extremely passionate about quality education in the CE space. And she's focused on supporting the independent dental practice, thus the American Independent Dental Alliance. As far as that other guy, Rick Cacciatore is also quickly become a dear friend of ours. I met Rick personally for the first time not so long ago, but I've known of Rick for a long time. He's a dental industry leader. He's got 43 years experience, so he's winning the experience game, but he says that he's known Dawn for 30 years. She disagrees with that statement. However, she said she's been in dentistry for 30 years, so I'm going to say he's probably right. He went to the University of Iowa School of Business. He has a vast expertise in management from a wide variety of dental industry positions. He's had executive roles with Dentsply in Atlanta. He was the president and CEO of Iowa Dental Supply, which was a well-respected independent distributor in Iowa. So he knows the independent distributor game very well. And then he went on to Patterson Dental, North Central region as the region president. And so Rick's built his career in dentistry on forming relationships with professionals. And now he brings all of that experience to AIDA and their mission to success, to keeping private independent dental practices independent. And I think that's enough said right there. It's an honor to have you both on the show. I think the world of both of you, and I know Jennifer does as well. And we think the world of AIDA, and we're just glad you're here. So thank you for being here.
Me too.
Absolutely. Great.
I'm glad I didn't put in my bio that I live in Michigan.
Well, I sure as hell wasn't going to mention that because I know you've been getting your dental care out of the basement.
To admit where I live.
Yeah, with some dude named Ricky Bobby that's like putting veneers on.
Yeah, I don't recommend basements for.
Yeah,
no.
Basements are not.
I love an above grade dental office.
I'm gonna have to Google that report and see what section of Michigan that was in.
Detroit.
Yeah, you definitely should.
Yeah.
Although it would appear he will not be performing dentistry anytime soon.
Yeah. Actually, we're just going to go ahead. We're going to change it to Windsor, Ontario.
Okay, sounds good.
That's where it was. Yeah.
Probably is not too far from the truth.
Yeah. So anyhow, who wants to start tonight?
Oh, gosh.
Well, I'd like to say something.
Rick to start.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, well, what I wanted to say before we get started, you said you were a little nervous at doing the introduction tonight because Jeff wasn't here, but I was watching the show last week, and coming behind Alexander Waskowski, the gentleman dermatologist that went on to med school after high school.
Yeah, dude.
That guy was a brainwave.
Yeah.
Quite something. You can't beat those credentials. He was fascinating to listen to. So
I agree.
I thought, now who's going to win us after hearing him? He was great.
Yeah, it was great, and we've been pretty blessed with our guests over the past several years, and it's no different tonight. So you all offer something. Well, you all offer a lot, but you all offer something that's very unique in the dental industry, and that's the quality and the caliber of education that you all provide. But before we get to that, one of y'all pick. I don't even know where to go, but tell us a little bit about AIDA and how it was formed and what it really stands for and what it means to you all.
Well, sure. I'll jump in there real quick, and Don, you jump in whenever you want. So,
All right.
yes, as you started to talk about, we're here to kind of bring you up to speed on how AIDA arrived and where the dental industry, how we got to where we are. So, if we look at the industry as a whole, everybody knows everything about corporate dentistry and how corporate dentistry has evolved and came in. Actually, this is not the first time corporate dentistry has come into dentistry. The first time was back when I started in the early 80s, and they weren't very successful. But the second time around with the venture capital money, they were very successful, as we all know. So as I jumped off the corporate freight train back in 2017, what got me excited about the independent dentist was seeing them kind of left out in the cold. What I was witnessing was the DSOs coming into the marketplace, and these guys, the private practitioner was just absolutely getting bombarded with the opportunities to join the ranks of the DSO. And there was a specific reason for that. The venture capital saw the asset of the dental practice, and it was a very good lure for them to get in. Our industry has always been very steady. Even during our recession, we've done great. So they came in with guns blazing, and they made major progress. We all know that. So around 2017, I think the figures, they got up to about a 7.5%. By 19, they were over 10. I think some of the experts out there are forecasting they're around 30, could be higher. They look at maybe that they might plateau out at 40 to 45%. But the whole game changed for the doctor. And what we saw was they were no longer on a level playing field. So the solo practitioner was kind of left in the dark there. And what happened was the big distributor out there, Henry Schein, everybody knows Henry Schein. They're the dominant player. They have been for a long, long time. They were very, very good with institutions. They owned that business. They owned the military business. They owned the dental school business. Anything that had to do with government business, they had that. They have medical divisions. So they had the playbook. They knew how it worked. And then all of a sudden, the DSOs came into our market, and they brought out that playbook, and they leveraged the manufacturers to give them better pricing. And then we saw the disadvantages start, right? So the single practitioner was no longer getting the same value deals. The solo practitioners, as they were hearing from the DSOs, they were saying, "Hey, get your retirement up front. We'll take care of the front office. You just sit back and do clinical dentistry." And it all sounded great. And many dentists jumped in. And why wouldn't they? It sounded great. So as you know, Chad and Jennifer, you probably talked to some dentists that jumped in and maybe regretted that decision and had buyer's remorse. What they found out, what it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. They had buyer's remorse, so to speak. They had production goals. They lost their autonomy. They had no longer able to make decisions, and it just wasn't what they thought. So, that's what we're up against. So the solo practitioner now is looking for a fair playing field, and so that's what AIDA was attempting to do. As I got out of the corporate world, I made it my mission to stem the tide of corporate dentistry and protect the private practice dentist. So that was our mission. And we started from ground zero. And today we're very proud of the fact that we're over 2,000 members and growing. We're growing rapidly. And one of the things that really set me back is when I sold Iowa Dental Supply, as we were talking about an independently owned dental company that was over 80 years old. And that was a massive decision to become part of that. And so the reason that happened was I felt like we were missing the technology piece, and our cultures were identical. 6 months after I joined the company, they said, "Well, private practice is what we've always done. That's what we've always focused on. But if we can't beat them, join them." So now we've seen another player jump in. So it really sat wrong with me. And I thought, if there's anything I can do to protect the private practice dentists, to help them, we formed AIDA. And 5 years later, here we sit. It's been a good ride, and it's been wonderful.
So Dawn, tell us a little bit about the. I want to hear it from you. The four independent distributors in AIDA and what they mean to AIDA and what they all bring to the table. Just
Well, AIDA, as Rick said, is empowering and supporting, joining together the private practice dental. And part of that is where you get your supplies, where you get your service, where you get your equipment, how you get it serviced. So we needed four amazing partners that was able to support our AIDA members. And we have four amazing partners that support AIDA and the organization. And Atlanta Dental in the South and up the East Coast. We have Nashville Dental, of course, in Nashville, Tennessee, and Kentucky and the surrounding areas. We have Getsy Dental up in Kansas City and Iowa, Des Moines, around Rick's area. And then we have Midwest Dental, and that's Chad. You know Midwest because you deal with them. And they're in the Texas, Oklahoma, and down in that quadrant. So, between all of them, we cover just shy of 25 states. So we've got about half the United States covered, and we've got the largest states covered, and we're growing. So, you've got the opportunity to be an independent, to be serviced by an independent dental supplier. Because I look at it the same way. I mean, as I said in my bio, I used to own a dental supply company. My family started it and owned it. And Rick shares the same background. And just like the private practice dentist office, it's hard to be an independently owned dental dealer. We're up against the same corporate challenges that you are. So we are doing the best that we can to empower the private practice dentist, and the independent dental suppliers are the ones that really are out there fighting the good fight. So I'm very blessed to have those partners.
And I can speak to all of the suppliers that you spoke of, that they each have the mentality that the private practitioner does as well. I mean, it's a very, in Texas, we call it a good old boy mentality, kind of a brother-in-law type of deal. And I'm a relationship person, and I feel that every single, supplier that I've dealt with, these four companies, they're all about relationships, and that's what promotes the independent practitioner. And so I think you all have just a great crew and a great
I agree with
path
you
forward. So,
and if I could offer an additional viewpoint, many private practitioners end up going, like, they'll start with a Patterson or a Shine or whatever because of what you mentioned, Rick, that we need the support. If I pick up the phone, I need somebody to be here to fix my compressor, my chair that's not working, so I can continue to be operational. But then they'll kind of gravitate towards some of these online distributors or whatever because the price point becomes more competitive. And I think it's beautiful to see what AIDA has been able to do by marrying both of those things that the private practitioner wants. They want the relationship, the on-site service, and the support of the companies that they've known for a long time. But to your point, I mean, the P&L is not lying when they look at the supply piece of that to say, we can't be competitive with the corporate dentist down the street because we don't get the same price for cotton rolls that they get. And so they're forced to start making these pretty substantial decisions. Do I just go for pricing or do I go for relationship? And I think it's really impactful that you have sort of created an entity that's marrying both of those things that dentists are struggling with on a daily basis, to say, look, you don't have to give up one for the other. There's a marriage here that can happen, and AIDA can be the answer to that. So I applaud you for what you've done.
Well, and you nailed it, Jen, because the more people, the more offices that we can get in AIDA, the more power we have.
Right.
Because then we go back and those distributors go back and we go back to the manufacturers, and we're able to leverage those numbers just like the DSOs are.
Which private practitioners have to understand, they are not getting the same pricing. Like they pay a substantial amount more. So at this point, it's actually hard for me to understand as an independent practitioner why you wouldn't be a part of some type of group that could help you leverage a better pricing structure, but also give you the support, service, relationships, as Chad mentioned, that you that you need. And honestly, most of us desire. Like, I've learned more from my dealers of new products that are coming on the market, new technology that's available, what's going on with my colleague down the street, not from a gossip perspective of what are some of the challenges that they're having to deal with from staffing or, whatever. And I'm gaining information from a conduit who happens to be going through all these different offices and witnessing many of the challenges. So I think it's really cool what you guys have done.
Well, and these are dealers that are supporting AIDA that have been in their markets for over 100 years. I mean, you don't stay in that type of a market for that longevity of a time and not do something right.
Right.
Yeah, I would also echo that. Atlanta Dental is over 150 years old. One of their founding members was Doc Holliday. Getzy Dental is over 150 years old. Nashville Dental is fourth generation. Midwest is our youngster at over 30, and they're growing so rapidly. But I live in Iowa. Everybody's seen the movie Field of Dreams. You build it and we'll come. It did take us. I'm not going to lie to you. It took us a while to build this thing out, but we're the biggest DSO in the country. We're bigger in Heartland. We're bigger than Aspen Dental. We have over 2,000 members. And we have the respect of our vendor partners. The manufacturers are on board. We talk about private practice dentistry because all we really have to say to them is everything goes corporate. How will you feel about it? And nobody wants to see that happen. The private practitioner, it's still a very good gig. Venture capital knows you own a great asset and they want your baby. And there's no reason to sell your baby. It's a great asset to own. You're an entrepreneur. You're an owner of your own company. And if you unlock not just the formulary benefits of AIDA, we have a buffet of resources. It starts with accounting and it goes to HR and on to practice management software, practice analytics. I could list 30 different companies that are inside this portfolio. And as you mentioned, Jennifer, a minute ago, we use the territory reps with the distributors to help unlock all this value. So it's not a transactional relationship. It's built on it's not transactional. It's built on the territory rep to help them partner with them. And if they believe in that, man, they can make a big difference. So we're making major progress, and we couldn't be more happy with the way things are going.
The old saying years ago when apps started coming out is that there's an app for that.
Yeah.
And when we go to speaking of services that are provided within the dentistry, it's almost like there's an AIDA app for that. Because there are so many services provided within the dental industry that you don't have to look any further when you're an AIDA member than, they've got this, they've got this, they've got this. And it's my joy. I get to MC the event on Friday for Midwest Dental. And it's my joy to be able to share the various I'm going to say companies or services that they've partnered with and provided for their members at a discounted rate so that we don't have to look any further. It's all right there for us. And that to me is just wonderful. But one of the things that I think we really need to hit on is education, because this is very unique. I mean, I don't want to name any names, but we all know the larger suppliers, and we know the educational offerings that they have. I will tell you that there is not one that beats AIDA. So let's talk about AIDA Education and what you all are offering. And Dawn, I'm sorry, Rick, but I think that might be a question for Dawn.
Probably.
Love you, Rick.
Before she No, I get it. But before she jumps in there, I want to just add on to what you just said. So Dawn joined AIDA. What is it, going on 2 years now, Dawn?
Yeah.
And she is the crown jewel. She was the missing piece. And when we put this piece into place, we were over the moon, because both of you have had an opportunity, and we're building a community and a culture. And we started that with our first annual meeting down in Cancun this year. And we set it with the education piece. You guys have been all over the country. Dawn's done events all over the country. We opened up virtual. I'm not going to steal any more of her thunder, but I couldn't be more proud to have her on board.
I would agree. You've got an asset
nice
there.
things in front of so many people. I love this.
Yeah.
No, I like Rick said, I joined about a year and a half ago, and it has been so enjoyable to work with just so many of the different dealers, and the vendor partners that we have, as he already stated, is just phenomenal. But what makes AIDA Education unique, and what my goal is to truly empower and teach the private practice dental clinician, because I understand. I mean, I do. I really truly understand what it is out there. I ran a sales territory. I ran an independently owned company. I know how many hats you wear, and it's overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. Chad and I had a call today, and Chad, I'll pick on you a little bit. He was late for the call because he was wearing so many hats in his office, and we are all stressed, and we're all pulled a million different directions. So if you're going to have to get CE for your license renewal, or if you just are that CE junkie that really just wants to learn and invest in your career, why not come to quality CE? Why go to the CEs that you're getting commercials? And you all know what I'm talking about. We've all been to the ones where you just feel like you're sitting in a timeshare condo, presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what you're going to get with AIDA Education. We are truly unbiased. The sponsors that are there to support the education, or they're not there. And we really, truly make it a goal for every event that we have, whether it's live events, whether it's Aspire in Mexico, or whether it's virtual that we just launched last night. That's why I'm in my virtual classroom, to let everybody know that we have those now as a part of our education lineup. And no matter what it is, that somebody can take away something, that they can start on Monday morning and they can say, I got something out of that CE that I can apply to my practice to make my work-life balance better. That's my goal.
And I will tell you, she is a stickler because she wants quality education, and she will take that down to, I'm not really crazy about your course description. Can we change this and that?
I'm going
to
be really
All
honest, Chad.
kidding
She's
aside,
never given me
Jennifer
that
and I
feedback.
can speak to that. We never get that.
I don't think I've ever said that to Jen.
No, I've never heard that. So
no. Okay, well, shut your pie hole. But anyhow, I don't get that from many other people. And there's like 3 that I can count that I've gotten it from. And Dawn always wants to make sure that we're advertising correctly, that we're delivering correctly, and that the education is top notch. And as a speaker, I appreciate that. And so you're going to get what you bargained for. Do you want to talk about some of the speakers that you have at some of your live events?
Oh my gosh. Well, the best way to talk about the speakers that I have are to go to our website. And if you go to aidagroup.org and you can click on the education link, it'll be twofold for you, because you can go to aidagroup.org and you can look at the education lineup that we have. You can click on virtual or live, and you can see the sessions, the live events that we have all over the United States. And what's really awesome about this is say you wanted to go see Chad Duplantis, and he is going to be speaking in Savannah, Georgia on a Friday. Well, even if you're living in Des Moines, then if you want to go for the weekend and take your spouse or take your office with you, you can go to a wonderful location. We have them in Atlanta, Nashville, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Kansas City, Des Moines. I mean, we have them all over the United States. So
Wichita Falls.
Yeah, Wichita Falls. Exactly. Wichita Falls. We just had one in Tulsa last week, had 160 practitioners. So we were really excited there. So, I mean, we're trying to go and bring quality education to the local doctors, because we also know how hard and costly it is to go to the Hinman or the Yankee or the Midwinter. So we're trying to bring it to you so that you can have that local support at the same time. But we also know that virtual is a preferred way of learning. We're all busy. So we did install the option of virtual. It's on the second Tuesday of each month. You'll see our lineup. There are some exceptions to that rules. We've added some 3-hour segments on a Friday morning, just because it's too long for an evening after you've worked all day. But most of them are 90 minutes. And, we've got a dinky deal, actually. Our next one is June 11th. And we're going to be having Dr. Carson Carpenter come on and talk about the opioid and controlled substance mandate. You all know that as clinicians, if you're writing scripts, the federal mandate came down that you have to have 8 hours of that content before your next license renewal. So, if you want to knock out 2 hours on June 11th, 7 Eastern time, 6 Central time, then you can go ahead and knock out 2 hours. So the dinky deal is if you register for the course, we will give you $20 off of your tuition. So all you have to do is go to that aidagroup.org, click on education, click on the opioid course, register, and enter the letters DINKs, DINKs, and that will decrease your tuition by $20.
And we'll put that
Hey, Dawn,
on our YouTube and also on Facebook
Great.
tomorrow. So we'll have all that
We
content.
would love to have everybody. I think that you'll find that so many of the courses on the virtual, we covered insurance strategies last night. We're covering a lot of business applications, HR, staffing. Your own Jennifer Bell will probably be having something in the works very, very soon. And so you're going to see a lot of things that I think cover pain points for solo practitioners.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There might be another reason.
Go ahead, Rick. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry. If there are DINK members on the call tonight or for the show, and they want to find out more information about AIDA, there could be another surprise for them if they go on and click on the AIDA website, fill out a form to learn more about AIDA. They might just get something from one of our 4 companies, a little present. We don't know exactly what it is. We're not going to tell you, but there could be a little surprise out there for them.
Doesn't everybody like free dental supplies? Doesn't everybody like free everything?
Yes.
Yeah. Just fill out that contact us form on that website, and you may be amazed at what you get.
And you won't get harassed, but you will get free stuff.
You get free stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a little teaser, Chad. Just a little teaser.
Little teaser. So one of the things. Oh,
go for it, Chad. Go.
No, you ladies first.
Well, I was just going to say, so Rick said something earlier, and I feel like we got to dig into this just a little bit more. So
we were on the same page.
Yeah, I knew we would be. All right. So you had mentioned that AIDA is one of the largest DSOs in the country, which I think is quite accurate. But let's talk a little bit about what that means, because the private practitioner's ear may have gone, wait a minute, I thought this was to support and elevate the independent practitioner, yet it sounds like AIDA might be a DSO. I need to understand what's going on here. And so, Rick, can you dive into that a little bit more to help work out some of the nuances of what AIDA is for the private practitioner?
Well, I'm trying to understand the question a little bit more. Can you dive a little bit further into that?
I will help, because I have the same question, and I love where Jennifer was going with this. And I'm sorry to interrupt, Jennifer, but
no, you're good.
When we talk about like a group, if we get a discount, if we get a formulary deal, you mentioned that AIDA is a DSO, yet we're supporting the independent practitioner. So can you explain the DSO portion of that? And
sure,
and maybe how we maintain our autonomy by being a member of a DSO. Is that fair?
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's a complicated question, because DSO and GPO, we hear those terms all the time, and those are self-written definitions. If you go to the Association of Dental Service Organizations and look what they classify as a dental service organization, it's pretty simple. They provide the management, they contract with the offices. The only thing that separates us from another DSO is that we don't own dental practices. That's it. Our members pay a small fee to join, but we use that leverage with the manufacturers and others to negotiate valuable deals for our members. And so what we're trying to do, like we said all along, is preserve private practice dentistry, provide this culture for them, and with like-minded people that want to see private practice maintained. And so by virtue of being part of this community and culture, we have negotiated these valuable resources for them. Does that where you were going with this?
Absolutely. And Rick, I love that you said that, because the average clinician out there has a very defined definition of what DSO means because of what it has then become associated with. And there are typically large corporations who own dental practices or have partner docs. There's all of these nuanced structures, but for the most part, they are managing, owning the operations, ciphering off profitability. Like there's a whole financial architecture there. What you're offering as a DSO, which still fits the definition, we just haven't opened our mind to the idea that that's a variety of a DSO, is that you can have some of the leverages that come with being part of a group without losing, as Chad said, your autonomy and practice ownership. AIDA is not sitting over your shoulder controlling who you hire and fire, right? Who you contract with, what insurance companies you work with, who, how much money you make on a monthly basis. Like AIDA is not involved in any of those pieces, allowing the private practitioner to continue to enjoy the fruits and labor of, or the fruits of being a private practitioner and a small business owner.
And that's right. There's no rules. Go ahead.
No, please. No rules and regulations.
No, what I was going to say is our doctors are not required to use any specific products, but there are a multitude of options for them inside the formulary. We do have some criteria that we'd like for them to meet. 75% of all their merchandise purchases need to be through the formulary. And if they do that, they can earn rebates back to the dental office. So not only do they have choices, we don't tell them what clinical products to use. We offer all of the valuable resources. They can use any and all of them. We don't charge them a percentage of their production. It's a small fee, $695 a year to be a member of AIDA. I had a doctor tell me, hey, I've been using ADT for my payroll for 10 years. And when I started using the AIDA discount, I saved more money on AIDA with my payroll in 2 months that paid for my membership for a year, just from that one thing.
Yep.
So this is a very small example of how they can benefit. I mean, it goes down to cell phone coverage and office supplies and on and on and on. So it's just a multitude. So I'm glad you brought it up, because when we first started AIDA, when we started talking to manufacturer partners, they go, you sound more like a GPO. I go, no, anybody can join a GPO. This is by invitation only. You have to really walk the walk in preserving private practice dentistry. You need to be part of that mission. And it's just not a buying club. That's not what we're all about. It's about being in a membership of private practice dentists.
I love the way that you positioned it. And as a member, and I've been a member for longer than the education portion has existed, I can tell you that there are also some analytics on your practice that are provided at the beginning of each calendar year based upon your previous year. And, you mentioned the rebate, and, I was assuming that was for every one of the suppliers but the rebate is fantastic, larger rebate on equipment, smaller rebate on purchases. Obviously the rebate is based upon the formulary purchases, and there's zero, you should use this. You should use this. If you don't use that, then you're not getting, it's not going to be added into your rebate, or your overall purchases.
It's your choice to maximize your savings.
There's 100% autonomy, and there's never you're not producing enough, and but there's no cash transaction at the beginning other than you paying a very nominal fee, which I promise you, if you use the formulary as it's anticipated or as it's designed, you're going to get that fee back 2-3-fold at the end of the year at a minimum. And that's what we've seen over the past several years.
But wait, let's go into that deeper, but then you're also part of a community, and you're part of a group of individuals who are like-minded, in the trenches, dealing with the same BS that the rest of the other independent doctors are having to deal with. We have opportunities to come together in community and fellowship and education through AIDA Education. But you're building this cohesive group of individuals around you. So, that's even more unique than the general DSO. You don't know anybody that's operating within that infrastructure. It's not like this cohesive community. Like, that's not really the way these things are being built. But you're building something that's competitive with organized dentistry, that's competitive with a lot of other groups that are collectively trying to bring like-minded individuals together to find bond and strength and to manage the mental health concerns, the burnout, and the other things that we're seeing in the dental industry. You're solving a lot of problems for that. And I think you need to recognize the impactful role that you're playing for the private practitioner, who is, quite frankly, in the industry, the one that is taking the hardest hit over the last 5 years for a myriad of things going on.
Totally agree. I think that was the most magical thing that we saw at Aspire, which was our first annual meeting, was so many offices came together and they had no idea that this community was so big. And once they learned that and kind of drank the punch a little bit and started hanging out together, I mean, how many CE courses, how many even meetings do you go to that everyone in the room is a solo practitioner, independently owned and operated? I mean, that just doesn't happen in today's age.
Nope.
So it's a great time of camaraderie. It's also a great time of networking to be able to talk to somebody and understand what they're maybe doing 5 states away and see if that's something that you can apply in your own practice.
And one additional thing I would say is that young practitioners that are currently in different practicing places, which I certainly did as a young practitioner as well, working in a group practice, being a part of a group, even from the educational perspective, to start to see what, a future private practice may look like and start leveraging that information, if that's your goal and intent to open up your own location or to be a private practice owner. Affiliating yourself from the educational perspective with groups like these, you're going to surround yourself with individuals that are making owning a practice successful. And you're also surrounding yourself with individuals that are supporting you in that journey. So you don't have to be actively independently owned to participate in the education piece to recognize that you can then surround yourself with people who are going to walk that journey with you, which I think, had I had that at my young age of wanting to own and operate, it would have been incredibly impactful for my journey, for sure.
Oh, I agree. And you don't have to be an AIDA member to come to our education. Non-members are welcome. Everyone is welcome. We want to be able to make you a part of the community if it fits your needs. If it doesn't, you're still totally welcome. And that's what we want to inspire. And, you talked about the young doctor, but there's also the subset of the doctors that are getting older and retiring, and they're trying to think of their exit strategy and trying to set that up. And I think that's where we can also assist them, because you're kind of out there alone. Who do you talk to? And sometimes they feel trapped and feel like there's just nobody else that they can go and talk to. And that's something that, you can use AIDA as a resource. And there's lots of different things that we can make connections because we know so many different people. Yep. So that's another way that we can, thing that we can bring to the private practice dentist and hopefully help ease their pain a bit.
So with that being said, one of the things, and we're running short on time, but I want to make sure that we don't miss this. Tell us a little bit about this annual event, Aspire, that's going to be taking place next year at the beginning of the year.
So it will be in January. I will hopefully have a signed contract in the next week or so. So there'll be a big announcement of where that's going to be. We do expect to double our numbers this year. We have had so much interest in just from the people that were there last year to the people that they've heard from their friends, from the sponsors, the education partners, the vendors. They're coming back and saying, gosh, I want to either be there again, or I heard it was one of the best dental meetings. I want to be there this year. So there's a lot of buzz, and I wish I could have moved a little bit faster with trying to get this nailed down on the contract. But I assure you that it will be coming very, very soon. And the lineup of speakers and talent and support that we're going to have at this meeting is going to be phenomenal.
So I'd imagine, I think it's safe to say that there will probably be a dinky deal for this in 2025.
Oh, absolutely. And as soon as I announce it, I'll come on, I'll announce it, give you guys all all the Me Too, give you all the juice about it, because there were so many DINKs members there, and we hope to have 2-3 times as many next year.
Well, we look forward to it, and we can't wait for next year because it was just such a blast this year. Jennifer, any closing comments on that?
No, I'm going to have to get a Brazilian blowout next year because my hair got so huge throughout the entire, like it was like the Friends episode where just every day it got a little bit bigger and bigger. So, I'm prepared now for humidity in January. I usually prepare for it in the summer, but I'm ready now. I'm game on. Let's do it.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to mention to you that you needed to do that for next
Jeff
year.
and I brought it
might be a little different this year. We're not going back to Cancun. I'll give you that little glimmer.
But it will be warm.
It will be warm.
I know where it's going to be. So anyhow, sorry.
Anything else?
She's been asleep on my lap and she decided to wake up. So here we go.
Cuteness overload right there. What a way to end the podcast. Oh my God.
There's Dolly. Say hi, everybody. So anyhow, we want to really thank AIDA for being here. I can't thank you, Rick and Dawn, enough for what you're doing for our profession, for education amongst our profession, for making us all feel included and part of a group in our profession. And I think that there's so much more to be had through AIDA, and the sky's the limit. It's just getting started. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to all of our guests for listening. I think we had a great number of viewers tonight. So hopefully we got the word out on AIDA, and this will continue to be part of our YouTube channel for the time to come, and Dinky Deals will be posted within the next few days. So thanks to AIDA, thanks to Getsy, thanks to Nashville, thanks to Atlanta, and thanks to Midwest Dental for all being a part of AIDA. And thanks to Rick and Dawn for being here. Jennifer, any closing comments?
No, this was a fantastic episode. It's always just a real pleasure and treat to be among friends in the dental community.
Agreed. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Have a great night.
All right. Have a great night.
Thanks again.